An intruder walks onto your property uninvited. What would you do? Welcome to the hub where America's stories begin. The Castle Doctrine law protects you and your loved ones if that does happen, but not every encounter is the same. This week, we bring you a look at the Attorney General's discussion on the law and the questions some of you in the community are asking.
I think everybody will agree that life is precious. And I think that when you always step back a moment and think about the Castle Doctrine, the right of self-defense, whatever is in the statutes, your firearms, your weapons, your spears, your crossbows, anything that one would think to defend themselves, when you treat life as being precious, when you respect the law, like obviously all of you do today, you understand how far to go when needing to protect yourself or to protect a loved one. And I think even in the religion, the protection of others is always considered the higher form of salvation, or whatever you want to call it. Understand that when I was invited to this, I first of all thought these are our Second Amendment gun enthusiasts. These are people that believe in the right to protect yourselves. But this is not the core focus of what we're here today and what our statutes are talking about. The law is not drafted around firearms. The law is drafted around protecting yourself, protecting others. The ability to use whatever you have, and that's even your hands, to go as brutal as killing somebody by strangling them or using your hands to kill somebody, to protect. So we're talking in this discussion today, we're talking about the firearm, the knife, crossbow, machete, spear, even chemicals. Throwing acid on somebody can cause death as well. My point is that the law and how we're going to talk about it today is dealing with this idea of self-defense and defense of others. A note that I wrote down as well is, when you talk about hurting somebody, the idea of using force to hurt somebody is usually the other side of the question of what you're doing in order to protect somebody. When you fire your firearm, you don't fire your firearm to kill the person because that is who you are, that you want to kill somebody. We should all be thinking as a community that you use that force in order to protect something more than what you're aiming or trying to hurt and kill. To protect yourself, self-defense, to protect your family, your children, your relatives, or even the common person off the street. One of the cases that I took to trial many years ago as a defense attorney was protecting a FSM, non-U.S. citizen, that was accused of a crime, and I believe it was he killed somebody, but I won the case by appealing to you who sit in our juries because he was protecting his friend against other drunk Micronesians that had attacked them. And the prosecutor, the Attorney General at the time, felt that because he had killed somebody, that he should be charged with a crime. I will assure you here today that I am not that type of person. I'm not the type of person that just because you kill somebody, that you're automatically going to be charged with a crime. That is not the person that I was raised to be. If anybody of you knew F.L. Moylan, which was my grandfather that came to Guam, he was not only a businessman, suffered through the Great Depression and became the American dream coming to Hawaii and to Guam, but was also a nighttime reserve police officer for decades. He taught us in our family the respect that you must have for life and the respect that you must have for one another and the firearm. He was the manufacturer's representative for many of the name brand gun names out there, Colt, Glock, and many other firearms that he brought into Guam. And I would ask him, why don't you have a full room of all these firearms? Because a lot of people wanted firearms, and he was one of the first, if not one of the few, firearms dealers at the time, ATF licensed. And he never really talked about it much, but my impression was that he knew exactly what those firearms could do. In the hands of a good person, like I presume all of you are, it could protect your life and it could protect someone else's life, your family's life. In the wrong hands, it could kill you. And that's the type of things that we're talking about today, if we talk about the firearm. Also, this idea of firearms, we need to step back a moment. Again, I use a lot of my history was with my grandfather. He brought in firearms also for sportsmanship. He had a sporting, his business had his sports section. We all know that firearms aren't just for self-protection. They're used for hunting, recreation, sporting, and then collecting, for those of us who like to collect. So it's with that type of background that I'd like to go forward. Now, I don't care what anyone says and how any judge or attorney general or prosecutor analyzes the cases. The beauty of the United States is that ultimately each one of you will decide whether or not the facts warrant a person losing their liberty for having used your firearm, your weapon, to protect yourself. At the end of the day, it's going to be all of you sitting on a jury that are going to decide whether or not myself and our prosecutors, if we chose to prosecute somebody for a situation where they were defending themselves or their family, has a case. Okay? So, as difficult as it is to be a lawyer, to understand our statutes, and it's not an easy statute. The Castle Doctrine is not easy to understand. Also, before that, the idea of the self-defense is not an easy concept to understand either. But at the end of the day, with all of you, I don't care how much education you have, when you're given that story in court and you feel that it was wrong to have charged this person, and you're asked by the judge to go back into that jury room and to make the decision, the infinite wisdom of everybody that I'm addressing today, and to this day, it still amazes me, of you put 6 people together, you put 12 people together, and you get justice. There are more cases in my 33 years as being an attorney that I've seen the jury go back to that jury room and deliberate, that the wisdom that you all have on what was fair, what wasn't fair, and especially that ability, and judges don't like hearing this and lawyers kind of cringe at it, jury nullification. That's when you may be dead to rights with every element of the case that you committed this crime or this person committed this crime, but the ability for 6 people all together, if it's a misdemeanor, or in most cases when it's dealing with the murder, the 12 people all getting together and all coming to a unanimous decision that I don't care what the facts were, this person was put in a situation that required us to let him go. To not take that person's liberty because we didn't think that this was a fair case brought against him.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
NBC's Wednesday primetime lineup comes into focus with Vision Express, fast, fashionable, focused.
KUAM TV8, first on Guam.
I got to tell you that I'm not a, I can't say I'm an advocate of vigilante justice, but I'm not an advocate of waiting for the police if a situation arises. The billboards that you guys have been seeing kind of reflect that, on the idea that the one to my left, protect yourself, that is one of those situations where the Attorney General is making a statement to you that if you're faced with an individual that threatens your life, your family's life, and that one, the little kid's life, you have an Attorney General in our office that is willing to look at the facts and decide not to charge, even if it ends up in the person's death. The Kinata case, I took over the office. Remember Officer Kinata that went to that gas station, and that non-U.S. citizen was shooting slugs, rebar slugs. If anybody have dealt with rebars, it's like a shotgun slug. He was using his slingshot and shooting at people at the gas station, so the GPD officers were called over in order to address the people that were being victimized by that individual. The incident ended with the police officer shooting the individual, and then he was prosecuted by the last AG's office. This is what we talk about when the Attorney General has prosecutorial discretion. It's completely upheld by the Constitution and the Supreme Court of the United States. The function of the executive branch, unlike the judicial branch, is to decide whether or not a case should be prosecuted. Again, you may have a person dead to rights, that they murdered that individual. In the last AG's view, that officer murdered that non-U.S. citizen that was shooting those rebar slugs at the people at that gas station. When I came in and I saw that as part of the debate on becoming the Attorney General, I wasn't so sure that he had acted in a reckless disregard for human life. We reviewed it, and what was the first thing I did when I came in? I called up the defense attorney and I said, give me your best case of why you think your client shouldn't be continue to be charged. The police officer shouldn't continue to be a criminal defendant, to be put in jail for what he did. And the defense attorney said, talk to the general manager at the gas station and hear what she had to say. So we contacted her, and I asked her the question. We asked her the question, do you believe that the officer was justified in shooting the individual? And she said, yes, because the person that was murdered, the non-U.S. citizen that was killed, would have killed us had the officer not shot him. In that case, he had actually got into a car and was using his car and spinning it and hit the officer on the, I think it was the leg, didn't disable him, but the officer pulled his firearm out and started shooting into the car and killed the individual. So that's the prosecutorial discretion that I'm talking about here. That is why you need to elect an Attorney General that understands the law and has the common sense. And again, those words, reasonableness, common sense, and jury all go together. You don't have to have a law degree, you don't even have to have an education to sit on a jury in our country, and that is the priceless beauty of the jury system. The common person gets to decide whether people should have their liberty taken away. Rule of law, the presumption of innocence, and this is when I go back to that vigilante justice. Be careful whenever you take the law into your own hands, even though I get it, sometimes you need to do that. But the lynch mob is never the solution to problems, because we all must understand that we're all innocent until proven guilty. We're in this society of following the rule of law, and that what if you were on the other end of the lynch mob? That because of somebody's misunderstanding of the facts, which happened, by the way, I think there was a case with the father and the uncle. There was a juvenile walking in front of the house. Within the past 2 years, they grabbed the guy and they beat the shit out of him, excuse the language. Then they find out that he had nothing to do with the robberies that were going on down the street. Our office decided that we had to prosecute that, because what do you do with the crime victim? The kid that was yanked off the street and beat up by, I think it was either the brothers or a father and his brother or his son. You know, that's why, ladies and gentlemen, as I speak to all of you, I ask you to balance. You need to balance this idea of taking the law into your hands, your own hands, and then understanding, is it better to wait for the police to come in? Is it better to wait before you pull the trigger? And then other things. The history of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, as hopefully everybody understands, was never about home defense. The Second Amendment was about overthrowing your government. It's about England. That's why I always laugh when you ask the English, what do they think about the Second Amendment? Oh, nobody has guns in England. I'm sure you don't. The United States passed a constitution, put the Second Amendment in the Constitution, which is above every statute, in order to allow us to overthrow the government in the right circumstances. That is the essence, the militia, the right to bear your arms and to overthrow a government that is no longer serving you. So as these Supreme Court cases go through the court, they always temper what was the founder's original reason for it. And then, of course, the whole idea of the tradition of letting people have firearms goes back to this idea that we have a right to protect ourselves in self-defense. The Heller case, and I kind of wrote that down as recently as, I believe, 2008, the U.S. Supreme Court, because I was always wondering, is the right to self-defense a fundamental right, like the right to raise your children? It's a fundamental right. You can't get CPS coming in and saying, hey, stop hitting your kids. That's not, you're violating people's fundamental right to raise the children the way you want. You can't beat the hell out of your kids, but I mean, there's a balance. That is a fundamental right to raise your children. The U.S. Supreme Court has identified the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, as an inherent and let's just use the language here. A natural inherent right. The right for you to have a firearm is a natural and inherent right. That's a very interesting set of words that they use, as opposed to just saying it's a fundamental right. It's along those lines that they temper the self-defense argument. Okay, before the Castle Doctrine, self-defense. You had the right to self-defense and to the defense of others, and that is a fundamental, inherent right that traverses even the American culture. It goes back to even religion. The idea that you have a right to kill another person in order to protect yourself, but that's where the nuance is. In common law, common law is the law before we had all laws. It's like comes from England. You know, a lot of our laws are derivations of what we inherited from England as a people, as a country. In common law, when you are faced with a threat, you have the right to defend yourself with an equal amount of force or less. A person comes at you with no weapons and is trying to just hit you. You can't pull out your firearm and take him down. You would be rightfully convicted of murder if you did that in common law. Since the common law time, they felt that there's situations where we need to increase the rights of certain individuals.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
Hey, I gotta give you a heads up about something. If you're still rocking that old school cable box, bad news. It's about to go bye-bye. Come February 28, 2025, that old cable system is shutting down. If you don't switch over to DTV Plus, your TV is basically gonna become like this paperweight. Dude, but don't freak out. Making the switch is super simple. All you gotta do is you gotta take that old box and you gotta bring this back to Docomo Pacific, and you're gonna upgrade to this little thing. Boom! You're all set. No more bulky boxes, crazy tangled cords. Dude, just clean DTV Plus, streaming straight to your TV, straight to your phone, your laptop, or your iPad. Dude, don't wait till the last minute, because February 28th, it's gonna sneak up real quick. Just go to Docomo Pacific today and get your upgrade locked in. And if you're like me and you hate waiting in line, book your appointment online at docomo.skiplino.live to save time. Trust me. You'll thank me later.
name is Vincent Uggan from Dedadu. I live in a high crime area. We can't move. It's a land trust area. My wife built a concrete house, so we can't move. But during the COVID, a lot of squatters moved in that created our area a high-risk crime area. Now, my question is, I don't have a gun carrying permit, my wife does. If somebody enters our house and I'm the one that used her gun, am I going to be convicted as a felon, or because I'm a veteran, so I know how to use the firearm more or less better than my wife. But I don't have a permit because the FBI said I can't because of my PTSD and the medication I take for it. So would I be prosecuted for protecting our home using my wife's gun, but I don't have a permit?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, Mr. Ogden, because Grant and I were just speaking before the this gathering about people that are being caught with their firearm in their car, but they only have a non-concealed firearms permit. Because technically, I think you're supposed to take the clip out, put it in the trunk when you have a non-concealed firearms permit. But if you get a concealed firearms permit, obviously you can keep it in your cab and so forth, which kind of goes back to that little imaging that we have there that the woman has a firearm. Let's just say that the woman has a firearm. She had it in her purse. Meth addict comes up to her, tries to rob her, and she only had a non-concealed firearms permit. The AG's office would probably say, we're not going to charge you, Miss Jones or Miss Ogden or whoever the individual is, because that's the reality. If I took it before you, how many of you would charge her for not having a firearms permit? And she was faced with a meth addict or somebody that you could establish on that billboard. I'm sorry, it's our miniature billboard. if you see it, it's the one where the can you? Yeah, thank you. On this one, this was meant to communicate something to our community and to scare the meth addicts. That if you guys think that you can be shooting people, get ready because they may be shooting back. If she didn't have a firearms permit and she pulled her firearm out of her, she didn't have a firearms permit or she didn't have a concealed firearms permit, would you as a juror convict her? Probably not.
New year, new me. A year of possibilities starts now, and it all begins at Kmart. From health to home, we got everything you need to start fresh and thrive in the new year. Kickstart healthy habits with pantry essentials and nutritious options for your family. Keep your home sparkling with cleaning solutions designed to make life easier and fresher. Looking to crush your fitness goals? Find workout gear and activewear to get you moving. Need to revamp your style? Check out our newest apparel for the whole family. And for the heart of your home, discover appliances and home goods to make your life easier and more comfortable. Busy families, moms on the go, and everyone in between. Kmart is here for you. A fresh start is just one shopping trip away. Kmart. New year, new me, a year of possibilities. Find it all at Kmart.
In here, you can expect to find crystal clear audio, expansive display space, endless entertainment, and more comfort for everyone. But even with all that, we still left room for all the unpredictability, spontaneity, and unexpected things you'll find out here. The new 2024 Grand Cherokee lineup. Jeep, there's only one.
Alpha Day, my name is Paul Kerner. I just wanted, when I was listening to you saying, like, if the threat is coming onto your home, it's best to shoot them in the leg, not in center mass, but during the time of the invasion, you only have so much time. It might be dark, and you recommend to wound them, but I think it would be harder to shoot that person in the leg or the arm instead of center mass.
Or miss and hit a family member.
Or miss or over penetration. So what do you recommend? Because you only have seconds to defend yourself.
Okay, well, let's put the fact pattern. Person's at nighttime, and you decide not to do the what I kind of suggest. You hit him in the heart, you take him out immediately. Under my reading of the law, you would not be charged at all. So, yeah. I'm just saying that, what if you found out that it was your neighbor who you... What was that one with Clint Eastwood, that movie where... it was a recent one where he shot the guys. The idea, guys, is that what if you find out in that darkness of night, when you find out that the person that broke your window was really the kid that you... was your guy that does your lawn, the teenager next door, and you just killed him. That's all I'm saying. You have the right. You have a right. Whether you choose to use that right, I say, please think like I know you all think, very carefully. And that's why I say that the firearm is a tool. People that have shotguns as their home defense, that thing's, it has a spread pattern. So that means that if you try to shotgun somebody in the house, you better hope your kid's not next to that person. It's common sense, right? It's this idea that all you jurors, when you're listening to these facts, and that's what a trial is, ladies and gentlemen. It's a story. And by the way, another reason why you want to sit on a jury is that you want to listen to what's going on in our community. The duty of the attorney generals, the prosecutors in our office, is to tell you a story and to hope that you see it our way as storytellers. That's really what a trial is. You're sitting down and listening to a story.
Thank you. Can I ask you one more question? So self-defense from your vehicle. If someone was pounding on your car or your window, and you feel like the guy is trying to break in, can you use deadly force?
I don't think that that's the reading of it, and it's a good question, because what do you do in the car? We saw what happened recently with the guy that was trying to take the car and the family was inside, the meth addicts, right? It was in Tamuning, I believe. He ran to Jonestown or something. That, again, GPD, excellent. They caught him. I think they caught one of them, and the other one they quickly got after. What do you do in a situation like that? I don't think, well, there's no curtilage on a car, okay? So there's no, 10 feet around the car, stay away from my curtilage. I think you'd have to get through the car. You'd have to come into the car. Yeah. So you can't, the person pounding on the panhandler. No, you cannot shoot the panhandlers. So.
We'll leave that to the panbusters. All right, any more questions?
We got those guys.
Okay, let's go. Oh, okay, yes, did you have a question, sir? Go ahead and state your name and ask your question.
Yes, Christopher Allen, good afternoon, good morning.
Good afternoon, good morning.
Okay, I'm sitting at home in my garage. I have no trespassing signs on my front gate. And as I was sitting there, this guy came down the hill eating potato chips. I don't know him from Adam. Walked up, right up into my garage. I was shocked. So my question is this, in a situation like that, the guy came from down the hill, through the gate, in my garage. What would you do in a situation like that? And the second question is, follow-up question is, when the Guam Police Department, let's say you do protect yourself with your firearms or a knife, and the Guam Police Department show up, would they confiscate your weapons, all your weapons? What is the procedure?
So this is one of those very fact-dependent kind of circumstances where you weigh all of the factors. Is this during the daytime? Is it at night? What is the lighting situation like? Did you have opportunity to observe this individual as he was coming onto your property towards the garage? Was he armed? Was he not armed? Was he making threats toward you? Was he running towards you, or was he simply walking? All of these factors would be taken into consideration. And I think it's important here that when you're reacting in these situations, that use common sense. Be smart about the situations. You're not going to, in those particular circumstances where you have an opportunity, someone's on your curtilage, you have an opportunity to observe them, their appearance, their demeanor, how they're acting. You can take those considerations into account when you're making a determination of if they're really an imminent threat to you, to your safety. And the key here is that it has to be reasonable when you're acting. So just keep that in mind. In those particular circumstances, you know, there's a lot of gray there, and I wouldn't necessarily say that if you were to react in a way, you know, using defensive force in that particular context, you wouldn't necessarily be protected from the Castle Doctrine, depending what they're there for, because maybe they have a legitimate reason to be there, to visit you. Maybe they're, you know, a religious pilgrim, or they're delivering something, or, you know. So you have to be smart.